All right, everyone. Once again, we have to talk about hydrogen Hillary Clinton because she keeps stepping in it over and over again. It's like watching a life form that's incapable of learning, even though she's got primarily now it seems Democrats angry at her. Like the Republicans are just ignoring her at the moment. They're having a chuckle. Independents like myself are like, it's funny, but it doesn't really matter in electoral terms. She's not running for office. But then you've got the Democrats right now. They're the ones raking Clinton over the coals. I don't understand what she's doing. Because she's beginning to alienate now even the neoliberals. Before it was like she's alienating some of the Sanders fans, some of the sort of the Warrenites, the quasi-progressives. And that was natural because she lost against Trump and she's a neoliberal, like an outdated 90s Democrat. And so it just made sense. But now she's started to attack her own fans, to attack the neoliberal media, to attack basically the House and Senate Democrats. Now she's saying, I won't admit that Trump is a legitimate president until this probe is done. Basically stirring the pot a little bit more. She's hoping to fan the flames of people who still care about the Russia bullshit. But that's what it is. Mueller's not going to charge Trump with anything. I can almost guarantee, I give you a 99% chance that Mueller nails like Manafort, maybe Flynn to the wall, and then ends the investigation and says, no, we didn't find any wrongdoing specifically by Trump. We can suspect maybe he was aware this was going on, but we've got no proof of it. Don't you think that by now, with the unlimited sort of access he's had to all of these people, who might want to, if they did something that they felt to be like really criminal, like they were directly and explicitly working with the Russians to undermine the election, don't you think that they would have cracked by now and said, well, I'm not going to take the fall for Trump. It's just not going to happen. If you've got that many individuals involved, you'd think that would be the case. Meanwhile, we've got the real shit going on is with Comey, who appears to have perjured himself several times, who's taking it from the left and from the right, somewhat undeservedly, because, the dude's trying to do his job, and every time he comes out and says something, because it was so hyper-partisan during and after the election, one side of the country virulently hates him, thinks he's the worst, string him up, he's terrible. The other side says, oh, well, no, he's an angel, he's glorious, he's trying to save the republic. And they keep bouncing back and forth from side to side on this issue with Comey. But Clinton is doing exactly what she projected that Trump would not do. You'll remember during the election, both Clinton and others, those who supported her, some people that didn't, including some people that were like third party, independent, they were apolitical, they were all worried, well, if Trump is not elected, is he going to consider Clinton legitimate and pledge fealty, basically, and bend knee and say, no, I've lost fair and square, or would he continue to ignore that fact that he lost and say, the election results are invalid. And now the Democrats are the ones doing that right now. You've seen. Some of them have gotten off of the fake outrage Russia bullshit bus. Clinton is not one of them. She's still riding that increasingly short bus, which is fitting considering her apparent mental state at the moment. She's still doing that. I guess she's seeking to undermine democracy like she swore up and down Trump was likely to do, because she swore up and down he wasn't legitimate as a candidate, he could never win, the American people would coronate her just like the DNC did with Donna Brazile and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and everybody else involved. She expected to be handed victory on a golden platter just by showing up and being Hillary Clinton. And she said, at the time, Donald may not accept the election results. Don't we think that this is dangerous for our republic? Regardless of the outcome, whoever wins, wins. Whoever loses, loses. We must respect the result. You can disagree on policy and, a half a dozen other things, but you must accept that the result is actually legitimate. You must. Otherwise, you endanger the fucking republic. She comes out over and over and says this when she thinks she's going to win. Now it's, I'm not sure that it was a legitimate election. Obama's done the same thing. It is nonsense. It is a lie when Obama says, well, yeah, we had evidence the Russians were tampering in the election, but I didn't say anything because I figured Hillary Clinton would win anyway. Yes, a sitting president privy to probably a degree of polling and info that is not normally attainable even by a presidential candidate like Trump or Hillary. Yeah, he just ignored reality. He thought that she would win. Okay. He understands nothing about campaigning, apparently, despite winning 2 of them in recent human memory. Albeit against opponents that were dumbasses, but he did win. It required some forethought and strategy, at least in 2012, I would say. So he decided to turn the blinders on, and Bubba Bill, it seems, was the only person who's like, hey, you might lose, Hillary. And he's probably happy that she did. She's like, I don't want to be the first man. How emasculating would that be for a former president, especially one that's, he's known as the charming womanizer, essentially. She'd probably keep him locked up like a bad secret as he slowly loses his mind. But then again, she would be too. He'd probably be at war with Iran by now if she had won. She's doing exactly the same thing. I hope people notice this. The exact same thing that she pretended to worry Trump would do if he lost. And she said at the time, well, it's a danger to our republic. If this happens, you must accept the results as legitimate. You can't question the validity of the election. What's she done since then? Oh, I question the validity of this election. It was Russians. It was interference by the media, as though they weren't taking marching orders from her campaign. Oh, it was the DNC, they're responsible. Oh, my voters weren't vicious enough. Trump's voters are deplorable. Evil, evil, evil. Evil everywhere. Everyone's evil. Everyone's a Russian or a Nazi or something like that. It's like our republic truly has fallen if she's right. But the Mueller investigation will wrap up, and I predict that Trump will not be touched by it. The handful of people still holding out with the resist hashtag will inevitably be totally demoralized by this. And that monkey will be removed from Trump's back, and you watch what happens with his popularity. Once it becomes clear to people, no, indeed, your president is legitimate, qualms from the other party aside because they're just too friggin' confused to figure out how they lost, it'll be a good time for him. It'd be a bad time for Clinton. You do realize, Hillary, that you're going to have to come out probably and publicly apologize for questioning the election results. Just as if Trump if he had lost and continued to push the issue, refused to back down and use the legal process to say, oh, it was Russia, it was this, it was that, it was the Saudi Arabians, it was Clinton's backstabbing and dirty dealing, oh, she must have bribed people in the local offices or something. If he had done that, and it had turned out after a full investigation that it was totally legitimate, there was no problem. And by the way, Russian bot accounts buying ad space, that's not a usurpation of your democracy. It's just sort of the way the internet works. We do this all the time to other countries. That's not election rigging. It has nothing to do with votes. It has to do with convincing people which way to vote based on what your whim is. The U.S. government does this. Lobbies and organizations, certainly political parties do this all the time. What's the difference? Can I ask something? Can I play devil's advocate here for a moment? What's the difference between a political party putting out an ad that's usually misleading? It's usually yellow journalism at its finest. It's usually just a bunch of bullshit. What's the difference between that affecting how people vote and being dishonest and the Russian state doing the same thing? What, is it more honest because it comes from domestic groups instead of some foreign group? And what if they have ties to foreign groups? The DNC and the RNC do. They both work with lobbies that represent other countries. It's well known. Every country has there's a Bhutanese lobby probably, a Nepalese lobby. Here's the lobby for the people of Tuvalu. You know, it's one person who gets $10 a day to do it and sends a phone call in once a year, but they've got a lobby, I'm sure. All of these countries, they have embassies, they have staff, they have ambassadors. These people lean on our politicians all the time. So what's the difference? Which one is worse? They're actually talking directly to people who make policy and trying to convince or bribe or blackmail them? Or they're putting out a fucking ad on Facebook? I would say the former is way, way worse. Because on Facebook, how do you even know which ones are the bot accounts? The U.S. Air Force has bot accounts. The FBI and CIA have bot accounts. The Russian state certainly has bot accounts. So do the Saudis. So does Israel. So does, I'm sure North Korea's probably bought a batch. Probably Kim sits there and shitposts several hours a day using his sock account North Korean army. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be quite a sight? You know, we liberate North Korea, and the first thing we find out is, oh yeah, all those bots were like North Korean. They had some pretty good tech. You know, it was on a Windows 95 or something, but, you know, it worked. The floppy disk army or something. That'd be great. But Hillary should be pressed. Her own party, the Democrats, should tell her you need to accept the election result and not come out and try to delegitimize it. Because that's exactly what you worried Trump would do. But he won, so it's not a problem for her. See, she can suspend her idea of morality. She talked in soaring moral terms about how evil and despicable it would be if Trump lost. And said, well, I'm not going to accept the election result. You know, I should have won. The deep state strikes again. The establishment, gerrymandered and rigged its way back into power. If that had happened, she would have continued the moral haranguing. Now Trump does. He says, well, you know, this is bullshit. And she's like, oh, evil Don. Evil, racist, Russian-controlled Donald Trump. Well, that's doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I say this as someone I am worried. Bringing this up with Molyneux, I think his DACA stuff is part of a grand strategy. But if I'm wrong, like, that would be very concerning to me. I don't think I could support him after that, honestly, because he would have lied straight to the voters, especially his core fans. Even if I don't really have a problem with the issue, it would still be a lie. It would still be a problem. It'd be the same as if he came out tomorrow and said, oh, there won't be a wall. It's going to be like, you know, I'm just going to pile a couple of rocks together and paint them different colors. Or I'll have Tillerson do that for me. I'll have the whole gang will be out. The Kellyanne Conway expresses a great interest in stacking rocks and painting them with smiley faces. So that's going to be the wall that I was talking about. We'll just buy the Great Wall of China and have it lifted and reassembled brick for brick or something like that. Hillary Clinton is way out there. The problem is that there are still millions of people who think the same way. And they don't even realize that they're being hypocrites, because every single one of them, to a man, woman, and child, was worried that Trump wouldn't accept the election results. It was one of their biggest concerns. It was a concern within the GOP when he said, oh yeah, if I'm the nominee, then I'll accept it. If not, I'll have to look at it, during the primary process. Now, of course, he won. So it wasn't a problem. And he won the election. And so on his end, it's not a problem either. But she kept calling for him to accept the results. Oh no, Donald, you're just so dumb. There can't be any rigging of our election. There can't be any interference into our election. It's ironclad. You have to respect the will of the people. And it's dangerous if you don't. What do the Democrats do now? Oh, Russia. Oh, Nazis. Vote rigging. Gerrymandering. Election fraud. Oh, terrible. Everything under the sun. And we won't accept it until this probe is over. Which means that's code 4. They're going to lean on him to try to keep that probe going as long as possible, even if Mueller basically right now appears to be twiddling his thumbs. He doesn't have shit on Trump. Maybe on Manafort, maybe on Flynn. Probably not on Donald Trump Jr. Almost certainly on nobody else. Manafort and Flynn are the only ones that might get wrapped up. Manafort was a Reaganite nationalist of sorts. So I don't think that he's taking marching orders from the Kremlin. I think Flynn would be the only one that would be involved, and it might not even have anything to do with Russia. It might involve his Turkish dealings. Wouldn't that be funny? Mueller comes out tomorrow and says, yeah, Michael Flynn's going to jail. No Russian involvement. He talked to like an ambassador, but that's not illegal. Like campaigns do this. You know, he was talking to Nigel Farage. Nobody ever blamed Trump for being controlled by the British crown. So there was no Russian involvement, but yeah, he was dealing with Erdogan in an inappropriate manner. So we're throwing him in a cell for that, but otherwise we don't have anything. And so the taxpayers are expected to foot the bill for a lengthy investigation that cost tens of millions of dollars to get no results. And then Trump can come out and say, oh, well, you know, Benghazi in reverse or something like that. Oh, it's just a witch hunt. And he's already called it that. And he's probably right. I give very, very good odds that this is nothing more than a political witch hunt. But they're trying to keep people outraged as long as possible. I don't know that it'll really work. When Hillary Clinton is the one pushing the issue, she's the least beloved politician in the country. She's not even in office, and she's drastically unpopular. What does she hope to accomplish by this? Maybe Trump bribed her and said, okay, here's $10 million. Go out and make a fool of yourself, Hillary, because, you know, you're not running again, so why don't you help me? I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. I want you to be the face of the resistance because people see you as boring. Has anyone thought of the vague possibility that Trump has compromised Hillary Clinton? It's not the other way around, and he's using her as a pawn. It's possible. Maybe Trump was the one that told Amazon to scrub the bad book ratings. It's possible. Stranger things have happened. You know, he's willing to reach across the aisle and shake hands with Schumer and Pelosi. Why not Hillary Clinton? Have any of her fans thought of this vague possibility? I think it's more realistic than you would like to believe. Which would show that Trump is a member of the swamp, albeit a very good at it, very good at theatrical performances. It'd be sad. I'm hoping that's not the case. But it'd be funny. It would be amusing. That's about all. Peace out.